Hi everyone, my name is Michelle and I'm a farmer in Northern California. Today with a few of my friends we're going to talk about where your food comes from. So during this lesson we'll be thinking, feeling, and connecting. We'll be thinking about the food that we eat and where it comes from. We'll be understanding the impacts of not knowing the source of our food. And we'll be exploring how to make more informed decisions to promote the health of our bodies, our communities, and the environment. So to start out, we're going to talk a little bit more about the food that we eat. What I'd like you to do is take a piece of paper and separate it into 3 different categories: your meal, ingredients, and your source. For the first part of this exercise, we're going to be thinking about a meal that you ate yesterday. Take the next 2 minutes and just write down everything that you can remember about that meal. For the next part of our exercise, we're going to break that meal into ingredients. So for an example, if I had a chicken soup yesterday, I would break that down into several ingredients, like onions and garlic and kale and potatoes and carrots, etc. So break everything down, take the next 2 minutes, and break it down into ingredients. Now for the most challenging part of our exercise. We're going to think about the source of all those ingredients. So again, thinking about all the ingredients that went into your meal, try to think about where those ingredients came from, what country they were from. For example, if you have a sauce, maybe it was from Italy. So try to think about where those ingredients came from and write down the countries of origin. And it's okay if you don't know, just take a guess. So maybe it came from Italy, or maybe it came from North America. Whatever you think, just write it down and try to make a guess for all of your ingredients. All right, so let's share with each other what we came up with. Raise your hand if you knew all of the sources of origin of all of the ingredients from your meal. Raise your hand if you knew only a few of those sources of origin, or at least the farm or the country. Raise your hand if you weren't sure for most of the sources of origin. Okay. For the countries that you did guess, did you guess more than 5 different countries? Did you guess more than 10? All right, let's talk about this more. To think about this more, let's take a few minutes to have a small group discussion. Turn to the person next to you, and for the next 5 minutes, let's talk and think about the following questions together. Question 1. Is it important to know where our food comes from? Why or why not? And question 2. How could the origin of where we get our food impact the climate? As you probably figured out from your discussion, it's very important to know where your food comes from, because the source of your food can have direct and indirect impacts on not only the health of our bodies and communities, but also our climate. Let's talk about a few of these impacts.
The most direct and obvious impact of purchasing and eating foods that was produced far away is the issue of fossil fuels being used for transportation. Who is paying for the price of this pollution if it's not reflected in what you pay at the store?
When you purchase food from far away, produce is also usually picked underripe and then chemically ripened before selling. This reduces natural density and often affects the flavor.
When you buy locally, it's like being able to live by the golden rule. You have more ability to treat other people the way you want to be treated and the planet to be treated how you want to be treated because it's nearby and you can learn about them and you can buy from them. When things are really far away, you don't have control or even knowledge, and you could be destroying things like the Amazon rainforest or other beautiful rainforests because people are producing things in a way that you don't agree with.
So these are some of the impacts of not knowing the sources of your food. So what can you do to avoid these impacts? Let's talk to a few of my friends of what we came up with.
Know where your food comes from. Ask your parents and look on packages yourself when you're in the store to find out where the food comes from. Remember to look closely, as sometimes the big print could be misleading.
Grow, raise, and support local farmers. Some examples of this is to go to your farmer's market or sign up for a CSA or just become friends with a farmer and go and visit their farm, do a seed swap, share vegetables.
If you must purchase items that are not from your area, try to limit what you buy and support businesses that are transparent with their operations, favoring those who promote the health of their workers, communities, and the environment. By knowing where our food comes from, we can make more informed choices that are healthier for our bodies, our communities, and our local ecosystems. We can reduce pollution, support local economies, and be better informed Earthlings, which ultimately supports our climate and our well-being.
We pledge to continue to educate the next generation of farmers and to fight for laws that support local and organic farming.
We call on world leaders to protect local seeds sovereignty and living wages for farmers.
We envision a world where all people have access to healthy, affordable, and ecologically just food.